welcome to Miss Duggar's At-Home Math. Before we get started, you're going to want to gather a few things. You'll need your book, a calculator, a piece of paper, a pencil, and let's turn off all those distractions. The TV and mute your phone. Go ahead. I'll be right back. Okay, you ready? All right, label your paper like this. AHM, which stands for At-Home Math. The lesson number, today's date, or your name, and then today's date. Okay, we're going to work on lesson 10.4, which is on page 504 in your book. We're going to work on identifying and classifying triangles. Here's a really important fact. If you add all the angles of a triangle, the sum is always 180. Okay, that little fact helps us find the missing measure of an angle in a triangle, if we don't happen to know it. Let's look at the example on page 524. It has this triangle. This triangle is triangle XYZ. And we know the measure of this angle, it's 43. We know the measure of angle Y, it's 119. But we don't know the measure of angle Z. But we know that if we add all three of these angles, we get 180 degrees. So the measure of angle X plus the measure of angle Y plus the measure of angle Z is equal to 180. We know measure of angle X is 43 and the measure of angle Y is 119. So 43 plus 119 plus the measure of angle Z is equal to 118. I add 43 and 119, I get 162 plus the measure of angle Z, still equal to 180. Now I'm going to subtract 162 from both sides to isolate the measure of angle Z, and I get the measure of angle Z is equal to 18 degrees. What do you think? Okay, here's where you need your paper. You're going to turn this paper in tomorrow in the homework folder. It's going to have all the examples that we work on here in the video. So on your paper, you want to try this problem. In triangle ABC, if the measure of angle A is 25 degrees and the measure of angle B is 108 degrees, what's the measure of angle C? You're going to pause your video for a second and work that problem. Then we'll go through the answers. Okay, let's check your work. I know that the three angles of any triangle add to 180. So the measure of angle A, the measure of angle B, and the measure of angle C must equal 180. I know A and B. They're 25 and 108. So I substitute those in for the measures here. And adding 25 and 108, I get 123 plus the measure of angle C is equal to 180. I want to isolate the measure of angle C, so I subtract 133 from both sides. So the measure of angle C is 47 degrees. I can check and make sure I got the right answer because this plus this plus this better equal 180. How'd you do? Okay, we're going to move on to classifying triangles. Triangles are classified in two ways. I'm sure you've heard this before. They're classified by their angles and by their sides. Let's start with by their angles. Every triangle has two acute angles. So the classification is based on the third angle. Okay, so based on their angles, we have three types of triangles: acute, right, and obtuse. acute triangle has 3 acute angles. Acute, remember, means less than 90 degrees. So every angle in the triangle is less than 90 degrees. A right triangle has a 90-degree angle, or a right angle. So it has an acute, and a right. And whenever you see that little square, that means that's 90 degrees, or a right angle. All right? And finally, we have obtuse triangles. Obtuse triangles have 2 acute angles and 1 obtuse angle, greater than 90 degrees. Okay, if we classify triangles by their sides, there are also 3 categories. Just remember the word congruent means the same. So remember that. And we abbreviate congruent with a little equal sign with a little tilde over it. So the first type of classification for triangles by their sides is scalene. In a scalene triangle, none of the sides are congruent. We put these little hash marks on. If they have the same number of hash marks, it means they're congruent. So this one has 1, 2, 3, meaning that all 3 of them are different. An isosceles triangle has 2 sides that are congruent. So these 2 are equal length, but this one is different. And finally, an equilateral triangle, meaning all of the sides are congruent. Okay, on page 526, we're going to do exercise number 2 that goes something like this. Classify each triangle by its angles and sides. So classify this triangle, just name it, and this one. And then you want to draw a triangle with an obtuse angle and no congruent sides, and write what it's called. All right, there you go. Okay, this one would be a right isosceles. Remember the little red square there indicates that it's a 90-degree or a right angle. These 2 hatches mean that this side is congruent to that side, so 2 congruent sides is an isosceles triangle. And this one would be a right scalene. Again, the 90-degree angle. The hatches indicate none of these lengths are the same, so it's a right scalene. Draw a triangle with an obtuse angle and no congruent sides. 1 obtuse angle, none of the sides. I guess it could indicate that these are not equal or congruent. So it would be an obtuse based on the angle scalene. All right, I hope you did well. So tomorrow, bring in that paper. And we'll do some work in class tomorrow on this, and you can ask me where I got this amazing dress. Have a nice night.